Welcome to the panel interview of Seaford School District in Delaware.
I'm Melissa Lambert, and I'm going to hand it over to Kelly to introduce herself and colleagues from Seaford. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. I am Kelly Carvajal Hageman. I am the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for the Seaford School District. And I have the pleasure of working with some really wonderful colleagues here in Seaford who are with us today. And so I'll hand it over to Teri.
Hi, it's nice to see everybody. I am Teri Burris. I am the District Literacy Specialist for our school district.
And I'm Jessica Redmond. I am the middle school ELL teacher and kind of the coordinator for all things ELL in our building.
Wonderful. It's so great to have all of you together. Thank you so much. You know, the Department of Education in Delaware has a large statewide initiative, which you are very aware of and very involved in, around the implementation of high-quality instructional materials. However, Seaford's taken a special approach to that. Could you speak a little bit to the implementation of high-quality instructional materials in Seaford regarding your multilingual learners?
Hi. So yes, we really believe in Seaford that all students can achieve success. And we take that to heart in everything that we do. And adopting and implementing high quality instructional materials is just one way that we take action to support that belief that all children, if given the opportunity and the scaffolds to achieve at high levels, they will be successful and able to do that. And so we've started out with looking at all of our curricular materials and making sure that they are aligned to the standards, that they are providing tier 1 access to rigorous resources, that students are able to and given the opportunity to read grade level material. But what's specific for multilingual learners and the lens that we use for that population of students is that we look for curricula and resources and strategies that have high levels of student discourse. Because that oral language development is such a critical part of developing literacy in English and increasing students' access to being able to show their learning, every teacher in Seaford needs to be skilled at eliciting student discourse in the classroom. And it's not perfect, but we're working on it. And so that's one of the things that we look for when we do walkthroughs in our district. And when I bring our superintendent into classrooms, is we listen for who's doing the talking. Is it the teacher or is it the students? And that extends into every single classroom, math classroom, English classroom, science classroom. So the heavy lifting really needs to be shared across all content areas. And the ones who are doing the talking are the ones who are doing the learning. And that's really one of our critical beliefs in Seaford. And so we try to look for that as a foundational piece in our HQIM adoption. So right now, in specific, in our middle school and high school, for example, we have illustrative mathematics. And the reason that we selected that mathematical program is because there is a really large emphasis on students collaboratively solving problems. And we recognize that with our population of students here in Seaford, we're about 1/3 multilingual learner in all of our schools, more or less, that we needed to have that be a focus for everything that we do. And that's just one example of many.
Wow, that is so fantastic. That high challenge, high support, academic discourse, who's doing the talking. This is very inspiring to see, and that you're implementing that as part of your look fors when you're supporting educators on site. That's amazing. Really
Oh,
beautiful.
one thing I wanted to add. Can I add one more thing?
Please.
I wanted to add about implementing high quality instructional materials just isn't only about the materials, but it's also about the professional learning. So they go hand in hand. You can't implement instructional materials without deep supports for the educators to be skillful in delivering that instruction to teachers. And so we've invested in partnerships with the University of Delaware and experts nationally to come in and work with our staff, our team, so that we can develop the capacity to serve our students at levels that they need to be served.
And we actually, if I can add on to that, we actually have done that at our middle school. We created a tailor-made professional development program because it's vital to get the teacher buy-in. And what the teachers need is they need the confidence to be able to teach the English language learners. When they have kids that come in that don't speak a word of English, it's vital. And we actually also, I think at the district, do a great job of getting a buy-in from everybody. The bus drivers, the cafeteria workers, the lady who brings the breakfast every morning, the administrators, everybody's got that buy-in. So at the middle school, we did a professional development course. It was really powerful because then a lot of our teachers adopted those strategies. And one of the math teachers came to me and said, wow, he's the best, he had the best score in the class. So when we adopt things like that, that's really powerful as well.
I was going to add too that our professional learning this year has been pretty amazing because we actually are using a model where there's lesson simulation and then teachers actually get to practice the lesson rehearsal part. So that's been an amazing model and we've seen good results with that.
That's such great advice, right? So when adults can experience what a learner is going to experience in ways, it just broadens the repertoire and ability to make those just-in-time adjustments that you need when you're very well planned. And so I think that's great advice in both the way that your approach is structured, but also how you are attending to high quality education in Seaford. That's amazing. Thinking about the guiding principles from the Department of Ed that are co-authored with leaders throughout the state, all educators share the responsibility for high quality education. What role do your content area educators play in supporting multilingual learners? And how can we advance that message that it's a shared responsibility?
So I've been doing a lot of work with the middle school this year. And one of the things that we've done there is actually, I started working with the related arts teachers and we did a lot of professional learning on accountable talk and improving student discourse. And yeah, so starting with the related arts teachers, and then we did it with other content teachers as well. But that was pretty amazing. And those teachers were in awe of all the things that they learned from what we did when we practiced and we did some lesson rehearsal and simulation. They loved that stuff. So it's really made a difference there.
And as we mentioned, the PDE type of course was a great idea, but also educators, in order to give them the confidence, we also like to have a strong communication. To me, communication is key. And weaknesses are. And then we also, if we get a new student, we're trying to implement this year more focused. A goal for next year is to do a better intake plan with the students to know exactly how much math they are able to do. And we also have a strong communication. The educators that want that support, they come to us very frequently and we problem solve together. So the educators and the guidance department and the EL department and the special ed department and everybody works together with strong communication to help get that buy-in and show our appreciation for the value of the educators.
Yeah, and Jessica does such an excellent job at Seaford Middle School, and Teri does such a great job, you know, in the district around everything literacy. And they just articulated what truly is our vision in Seaford, that it's a very asset-based mindset of let's look first at what students are able to do, rather than thinking about what they can't do and what their, you know, deficits might be. And so that is the approach and the mindset that is part of our vision, and that comes down through the actions that everyone takes in the classroom. And people need reminders, but that is the systems and structures that we have in place, is to really think first about the assets. And then the second part of our vision is a vision for integrated English language development. So we truly believe that everyone teaches content and everyone teaches language. And there's opportunities to do both simultaneously all of the time. So that responsibility isn't left to a core group of people who have a certification to teach English learners. Those are our experts that we look to, like Jessica in the building at Seaford Middle School, and they are support. But that doesn't mean that everyone, like even the related arts teachers who Teri spoke about, working with students in their classrooms, they have everybody in their classrooms. So they're teaching both content and language. And Accountable Talk was a perfect example of how that can cross contents, and it brings the connection between language is in speaking and oral language development and student discourse. So those are really big parts of our values and vision in Seaford for how we support student learning.
That's just amazing that it just brings to life all of the statements that you clearly have around high quality instruction, and that the idea of the PLC being the support place in that communication structure, as well as, you know, the how we're going to do it and what we're going to do together, which is that amplification of language throughout. So great, amazing, and very thoughtful. We're wondering about how that looks in a pragmatic way. Are there any shifts that you've done with planning structures or the way that you're scheduling, and how is that playing out in your district?
Well, at the middle school level, I could speak at the middle school level. All of our students are out in core content classes all day, because we, as Kelly mentioned, we believe in that high quality education. So they have the math, ELA, science, and social studies, and they're all in gen ed classes. At the middle school level, we do have one pull out EL class that has been structured to have students that are least proficient to get a little boost. And in that, it's run we do a lot of previewing of the bookworms and the math curriculum. And then we also do reviewing as necessary. And then we also get in the additional content area, language-based lessons. Next year, we're considering adopting just one newcomer section, so that we can get them a really fast start on the academic language, because when we drop them right into an ELA class and they don't understand how to read English or what have you, that makes it a little bit more difficult. So we're considering adding a newcomer class, but they'll still be in the other 4 content area classes. So another consideration that we have in master scheduling is just how to group kids. Like, I always think about how to group the kids without segregating them, because when we have 200 students between being monitored, and we have one teacher, so it's hard to push out into the classrooms. So we want to maximize where we place the students, and how we can help them, access that high quality instructional material. So those are some of the considerations at the middle school that we've thought about.
Yeah, and those exact challenges that we have at Seaford Middle School, I mean, we have limited resources in terms of, human capacity. We only have one teacher for our entire middle school, and approximately 1/3 of the students are either in monitoring status or are current English learners. And so it's really impossible for our one staff member to be in all places. So that's why we really take that approach of everyone has to share that responsibility. But I would say that one of the systems that we've put in place is that we have to be flexible. So if we're trying something and it's not working, then we don't stick with it for the entire time. We are flexible and we change, and we're willing to change schedules. And every year we get a little bit better. And there's a lot of collaboration. That's another system that we put into place. So among our principal and the EL teacher coordinator at their school, they collaboratively decide who is going to be in which class, and they strategically try to place students and be really thoughtful in how do they create that master schedule so that everyone can get what they need. And then the last structure that I would kind of say is in place is a vision for that everyone is always learning. So when I spoke about the professional learning doesn't just only extend to teachers and, you know, those people who are interacting directly with students, but it also extends to leaders. So school principals have been involved in learning about how to lead schools with a significant portion of their population as multilingual learners, because it does take a different skill set and a different lens to think about those supports, and even to think about when they're giving feedback to educators in their school, they need to think about and attend to the needs of the multilingual learners and offer support. So I think that really has an impact because of the thoughtfulness that our leaders have put into things like designing schedules, the collaboration that they expect with their English language teachers and coordinators, as well as the willingness to learn more and that idea of continuous improvement.
Grouping of students is so incredibly powerful, and the thoughtfulness that goes in behind that. And what I'm also hearing is the dedication to monitoring, that you're actually taking parts of the system, looking at them closely and assessing the efficacy and really making those continuous improvement decisions accordingly. And that's hugely powerful when you're thinking about moving an entire system forward and centering your multilingual learners for leaders, for all educators throughout the system. And it is truly apparent. Your vision is alive and well. You can feel it in your classrooms. As far as thinking about all of the pieces that we've discussed, are there any final thoughts that you have for your colleagues in Delaware? It could be advice, it could be final ideas, or helping to shift the vision for the state as well.
I guess my thought is always, we do this a great job of this at Seaford, is start with the students. What do they need? What can you provide for them? Make sure that we can be responsive so they can be receptive to what we're learning. If they can't be receptive to what we're teaching, then that may not work. So what do they need on the hierarchy of needs? But also I would say, like Kelly said, just if it doesn't work, try something different. Keep going. Tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah, and I want to think, what's always in my mind is about the equity piece. And so how can we make everything that we do more equitable. And we always start with that tier 1 instruction. And there's a strong belief that the teachers who are providing that tier 1 instruction have to think about equity and access, and what kinds of access points are all of the students going to be able to have in order to learn the content and verbalize and express what they know and are able to do with that content knowledge. And it's all about equitable access to that core curricula.
I was going to add, I think it's so important, and we've really done a good job of this, of embracing the professional learning that our peers have to offer, as well as people outside the district. But we have lots of talented people with lots of great ideas, and just taking what they have and spreading it across the district. And we've done a great job of that. I wanted to mention too, a little bit earlier, that Kelly formed a district committee this year called Data-Driven Instruction Team. And she can speak just a few minutes on that. I wish she would, because we've done a really good job this year of looking at assessment for learning. And it's been an amazing system that she's put into place. So if she could take a few minutes just to explain that, because I think that's great advice too.
Yeah, there's so many things that we do. And so one of our big philosophies is that we look at data and we drill it down to school-wide data, classroom data, and then student data. And we use our assessments to advance learning. And this work has been, it's been a long journey, and we keep learning more as we go through the process. And what we kind of discovered is that educators and all of us, we need coaching on how to analyze data and how to look at all of the assessments that we give to students all of the time. And we need to be able to do this in teams. And we need to be able to really talk about what can students do, how did they show us that they can do it, and then if there were gaps between what we wanted the students to be able to do and what they showed us, how can we get them there? And so we think about re-engagement with the content, that we can invite students to come in again, maybe by showing them in a different way so that they can be successful. And that's all part of our vision for using data all of the time in all of our classes. Every single educator in Seaford participates in this, and we have several district-wide data days where we do more of a deep dive, but actually that process is cyclical. And so our hope is that through practicing those skills of how to look at and use and analyze data during those, quarterly data days, that then educators and everyone would apply those skills to more short cycle assessments so that every single learner is getting what they need. And if they weren't able to do it the first time around, that then we're revisiting and re-engaging them with the content.
Wow, that's really powerful to think about, just structurally and system-wide. And I just can't help to think like how that works with the learner and the learner's clarity about where they're going and how they're going. And ultimately what you've described creates the condition for that, so that when everybody's knowledgeable about where everybody is, it's clearer, or at least there's the condition to put that into play for learners to be have a deep understanding about their own process. So that's just really phenomenal and inspiring. Wonderful. I can't thank all of you enough. It's wonderful, wonderful to have you here on this panel. And there's been so many important points that you've made and that you're enacting and advice that you have for your colleagues. And it's just such a great honor to know you and really enjoy being part of this work. Thank you so much, Seaford Leaders.
Thanks, Melissa.
Hooray.